So we're on to day 2. Let's get baking. So in carrying on with the theme of doing this without any of the proper tools, I'm now going to flatten this out not having a rolling pin. So my goal in this is to entertain, but not to educate. My goal in this is to make anybody who knows what they're doing in the kitchen absolutely cringe with what I'm doing in the kitchen, because that's more fun. And I have to get this off now and into this. So, you ready for the next stage in the towering inferno of baking stuff? I probably shouldn't say towering inferno. That implies I'm going to have a kitchen fire. Well, that's entirely possible. I mean, it is 2020. It is not the goal this evening. So, almost got it in the corners. Canadian hockey reference. In the creases. I don't know anything about sports. I don't know anything about cooking. I don't know anything about anything. You know what I know about? I know it's time to let's get baking! Okay, so we've got the experimental base in a lightly greased square pan, waiting for the oven to heat up at 450 degrees. And we're now going to take our pound of beef and fry her up. Frying pan's hot. We now put the pound of beef in, unceremoniously, and fry her up. Brown it, as it were. We're going to brown it. It is a lot of meat. That's likely more than a pound. Again, I'm not measuring anything, so who cares? It's all eyeballed. But the idea is we're gonna, even though we're gonna be putting it in kind of like a casserole, I want to get some of the grease out. So we're just gonna brown this up enough to get some of the grease off of it and drain the grease, and then go to stage 3. I'm hoping I'm doing this wrong too, because I'd hate for you to be wasting your time watching this and disappointed. He's frying hamburger okay. No, I don't want that to happen either. This is, however, the stage where I do normally like to put whatever spices I have in it. And again, in keeping with the fact that, you know, I'm married to a person who is incredibly brave and trusting, usually what I do is I just go and grab something and I don't really care what it is. So, see, we'll put some of this in. That'll give it some flavor. See, we don't care. How about some of this? We'll put some of this in there too, because, you know, why not? Maybe too much. Then I like to get very creative, particularly when I'm doing hamburger. And this is one of the things that I've been doing for years. And usually people who know how to cook, they like eat something I made and they go, what is that odd taste? Cinnamon. Put a little bit of that in there. Now, you wouldn't necessarily think that with beef, would you? And we like it spicy around here, so a little bit of red hot chili powder. Not a lot, just a little bit. Try not to do this too much, so that I don't have to turn on the fan. You know, you don't want it getting smoky in the apartment. Because if you do, then the alarm goes off, and everybody in the building knows you're a lousy cook. You know, you burn water once. Never hear the end of it. Okay, so this is actually going to go in the thing, and it's going to cook further. So we don't need this to go too far. So now we're going to shut that off. Again, it was mostly with the idea of getting the grease, cut down the grease. I love the grease personally. I would not do this unless we were adding this to a bread mixture, because then you're like, what? That's gonna make it soup. Ooh. Hey, heard the alarm go off. That's good, because now we can move to baking. We're gonna throw this in here. Put on the bottom rack for 8 minutes, maybe 7, 8. No, it's pizza dough, so it has to be 8, because we needed to get just started but not biscuity. That's cooling down. That's in the oven for 8 minutes. So now we'll go back to preparing the rest of the mixture. Are you intrigued yet? Because you should be intrigued. This is kind of going to be ridiculous. I don't like that part of the tomato, and I don't like that part of the tomato. But other than that, I like every part of the tomato. Okay, looks like I'm gonna have to cut the tomato, just because I need to put things in, the blades. I need to put the blades in. This is actually a cute little contraption that I got that hand chops and stuff. Again, I have no recipe. Just what do we call it? Mozart kind of approach to it. Except from the perspective of the Vietnamese prince who said, Viennese prince who said, no, actually it was his advisor in the movie Amadeus who said, too many notes. So now, again, because of this device, I don't need to do much, as you'll see. Put this in there, and I don't know whether that's bad or not. Frankly, it's just the outer skin of it, but the only reason it's a little slimy is because we washed it. You know, always wash your vegetables. I am not putting anything that comes out of the ground there in my mouth, and I won't say anything more than that because it's disgusting, and this is a family show. But here's the cool thing about this little device is that it mixes and chops all at once. And all you have to do is put the stuff in it. And there you go. So if you were like making salsa or something, that's brilliant, because I only had to cut that stuff up enough to get it in there. Alright, so we got a few minutes. 5 to be precise. So I'll pick up later. The alarm went off, and that means that the base should be done. Eh? What do you think of that? That's a nice base. It's all about the base. We drained the hamburger. We are going to be cooking everything in the skillet. So now I need to get the base. That, of course, isn't going to work. Oh, that's a nice consistency. I like that. That's going to absorb some of it at least, eh? At least. We can get it out of here. There we go. What does all that mean? Now we got this square thing in the bottom of this skillet. Now I have to do the mix. And that's where we're going to come back to everything. It all comes together at this point. So again, we're draining out the grease from the burger here. You see, we got it in my strainer, because I really want to get as much of that grease out of there as possible. Oh, my ride's here. So if you've been following me on Facebook and you know that I had this hunt down for yeast, it's all about this. This is what the whole thing was about. So we come back to the remainder of Seymour. Slightly powdered tray from yesterday. Like I said, this is an entirely new creation. Because who would do this? Why would you do this? What are you doing? This is crazy. Yeah, it is. It's crazy. That's what I like about it. Frozen mixed veggies. This is how I like to take care of the frozen mixed veggies, because I'm a violent person. See, that's what I did with the dough. Every part of this is being beaten up. I gotta be honest, I thought there were carrots and corn. Just carrots and peas. It's not gonna give me the palate that I originally thought it was going to, but Oh well. So, first thing we're adding is this kind of, I don't know what you want to call it. It's not really important. It's tomato and green onion. Can of mushrooms, sliced mushrooms, because sliced not fresh, and I'll tell you why. Well, you do want fresh in salad. I don't really buy into this idea of a stew needing fresh. In a way, I don't know. Maybe it's because, you know, grew up poor, but there's a certain flavor that comes with a canned mushroom that you can't recreate. It's always that one. There we go. You can't recreate it with fresh. You just can't. And there'll be a little bit of mixing up of this, and this is great because the idea is that the frozen vegetables, frozen carrots and peas, will help cool down the hamburger, which was just on the stove, because I need to get it to the point where it is malleable, manageable, handleable, because of this. See, so I don't know what this is. Like again, I thought it was maybe like a bread casserole, but apparently a bread casserole uses dried bread, and that's not what I'm doing. And I wanted to see if we could effectively take a meatloaf, but at the same time a bread loaf, and mix it together. And I'm seeing now that I probably should have done that at a much earlier stage. But that's okay, because at a certain point I'm just going to actually get my hands in here, and as tactilely disgusting as that is, I want to mix this up as much as possible so it looks just ridiculous. And I think we're at that point. So, I don't know what to say to you guys. If you're squeamish, you might not want to look any further. And if you're rational, you're definitely not going to want to watch this. But here we go. Because I want all of this and all of that, and almost like a pimento loaf or some other loaf. And if there is a word for this, if there is a name for this kind of combination, then please feel free to write it into the comments, because frankly, I'd like to see if there is a recipe for this. I would have rather have done that in the first place. This is disgusting. This is like, I don't know. It seems to me that this is appealing to the 10-year-old boy in me, except the 10-year-old boy in me did not like touching goopy things, and I've got my hands now in stuff that I'm literally having to have an out-of-body experience to continue with, because ew, this is so slimy. But I'm really digging the consistency, and I'm very curious now as to what's going to happen when I put all this on the base that we just baked, and then stick it in the oven for, I think we'll start in for a half an hour and see how things go. But the tricky part is going to be making sure that as much of the bread cooks as possible. This is so disgusting. Look at that, eh? That almost looks tasty on its own. I mean, it is. The hamburger's already cooked. So we're like a third of the way there. And this isn't all. And you're thinking like, my goodness, Gary, what are you talking about? Well, half of this is going to go in and then flattened out with a nice heaping of that. So we're going to put a little bit more in. So disgusting. Spread that out a bit, because obviously it's bread, so it's going to rise. I'm going to have to put another pan underneath, that's for sure, because, you know, you have to anticipate that this thing is going to Chernobyl up on us. And I have to get one more thing for this part before I put the remainder of it on top. Let's get baking. But you have to admit, if you've never seen anything like this before, and I'll be really surprised if you have, that is interesting. Is it not? That's interesting. So now we've got one of the great bequeathments of all time. It's a device that when I was a kid we had like a metal version of. Frankly, this plastic version I think is superior. It's a hand shredder because what I'm now calling a cheeseburger loaf, you need cheese. So what I love about this device is it's got like 7 or 8 different circular blades, and so you can go like super fine or just slices or whatever, and no electricity required. And I don't know why, but I really like the fact that no electricity is required. I like it with this, and I like it with this. I come in the kitchen like, once every 2 years and make an absolute disaster of it, and she comes in here on a regular basis and feeds us, frequently attempting to get me to eat healthy. When I come into the kitchen, it's not healthy. All right. See, so this is going to go in the oven for about a half an hour. And like I said, there's going to have to be a pizza pan underneath because, God, I hate this thing. And some of that's on the floor now. That's fine. We have a cat. So basically what that means is he'll sniff at it and walk away from it because he's a cat. And cats are notoriously bad at being useful. But he's a cute cat, so we'll keep him. I'm contractually required to say that. And because I just, if you don't leave it, then you don't have to clean it. You don't have to clean it. You don't have to put it away. You don't have to remember what you have. So all the rest of it goes on here. Now again, I don't know what you call this. I don't know if there's a name for it. You can make your suggestions if there isn't. But that's what we're going to be cooking. As I said, oven 450. Pizza pan on the lower. Skillet on the upper. What do you think? As you're watching this, you can entertain yourself with the idea of just how badly it's going to overflow. My expectation is that this is going to take longer than a half an hour to cook, but we're going to check it in a half an hour. So let's get baking. After a half an hour, here's where we are. Now it looks good, but as you can see from this little bit here, when we put the fork in, it's still incredibly doughy inside. So we're leaving it for another half an hour. Safety first. I mean, it does look good.
Mm-hmm. It's soft, but nothing's coming out.
Careful, make sure you don't touch the thing. Just doing this little end right here.
It seems okay.
Yeah, and what could be coming out is cheese, because there's a lot of cheese in it. That's beautiful, eh? Beautiful. We have no idea whether it's any good, but we've done the baking, we've done the cooking, we've done the testing, we've gotten to the point where that's something. And as I said before, by and large, it's very little not edible about it. I mean, so it's like maybe a bit doughy pizza crust on it. We're going to cut her up. As with everything on this experiment, brute force has frequently been required. Are you getting this?
Are the lights on?
No. There's no getting around it. There's going to be a disastrous part to this. Let me get that knife off you again. This is my mom's skillet too, so I mean this thing, most of my life I've been eating food prepared in this container. I've never used it in the oven before though, so that's... Alright. I'm telling you, I got this weird feeling that this might actually not suck.
Oh, really?
This one?
Yep.
Then again, you know what? That's too flimsy, so I'm going to use the other thing.
Okay.
That's how we got the bread out of the tray in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just looking at that video too. A lot of heavy lifting. A lot of brute force. Yep. Still haven't quite made it to the core. Alright, that's clear. I don't know what to call this. Alright. That's clear. So we've definitely loosened that piece.
Whoa, look at that. Wow.
I don't know what that's going to taste like, but that looks kind of yummy. You go on. I'll just keep playing around.
Away, okay.
Playing with my food. Well, I definitely feel the first one. Oh yeah, first one is definitely. We've found the core, Captain. Okay, not quite free on that side. Check that out. Ooh, that's way too much food, but I don't care. Gotta pay royalty now. Whoa. That is gorgeous. Whether it tastes any good is a whole other question. Let's find out. And what does Trudy think?
Very good. Very tasty.
Still quite hot though, but yeah. Okay, here we go. Probably need a knife. That bottom pre-cooked crust thing might not have been the greatest idea, but then I was a little concerned that this was just going to end up being doughy. Holy crap, that's hot. It's definitely interesting.
Tasty.
It's a doughy meatloaf.
Mm.
I can't get through this bottom crust. Okay. We've just gone for steak knives. It's the sharpest individual knives we have. I mean, it is tasty.
Mm.
It could easily be like a dressing from a Thanksgiving dinner. Except it's like a cheeseburger version of a dressing for a Thanksgiving dinner. So you get rid of the turkey and replace it with good, beef and cheddar cheese. But consistency-wise, yeah, it's got a lot of common with that. I'm calling this a winner. This was just something that came into my head one time. I mean, it was a bloody mess and it took forever, but... yeah. Who knew? Take that, Gaffigan.